We're here at Newmarket on the famous Warren Hill to catch up with Australian sprinting sensation Asfoora. 12 months ago, she'd already won the King George Qatar Stakes at Royal Ascot, only 5th in this year's renewal, but she was famously denied by Big Evs in the King George Qatar Stakes. But she's seeking redemption on the Sussex Downs, and we've caught up with trainer Henry Dwyer and Groom Chenelle Ellis to get the latest on the Aussie ace, Asfoora.
It's good to be back. We had a ball last year. We thought we'd bring the horse over and hopefully pay for the trip, which obviously we managed to do. She exceeded our wildest expectations by winning at Ascot. And then we, not just winning at Ascot, we had a great time at Goodwood and York and Haydock as well. So we thought we'd keep the party rolling.
And in terms of this year so far, just reflections on Royal Ascot, what did you make of the run this year when trying to defend her crown?
Yeah, look, I thought she ran well enough for where she was at. Last year we'd obviously been here for 2 months. And it's not about how long you're here before the race, it's more about what stage you get here. At home, obviously we're opposite seasons, different hemispheres, so we were plunging headfirst into winter and we missed that cut-off from sort of autumn to winter, and it was 4 or 5 degrees when we left home. And as you know, everyone sort of tells me how hot it's been over here, but she arrived here going from 4-degree conditions to 32, 33 degree conditions in the space of 48 hours, and it really knocked her about a bit, so we weren't able to do too much work with her when we got here, and she went into that race quite underdone, and that's how she raced. She really accelerated really well. She was a long way back, but she probably hit the front at one stage at probably the half furlong marker, and just really peaked on her run late, which we expected her to. So she gave a shout, gave us a great day out again. The owners were all there, they had a ball, but I think there's good improvement to come.
And obviously you speak about the change that you did with the prep this year, because obviously you had prepped in the UK, but do you feel that then gives her more longevity this year to go to Ireland or to go to the Abbey, for example?
Yeah, well, that's our hope. So Ascot's obviously always the main target whilst you're here, but there's some other great races as well, like the Nunthorpe at York's a great race. And to be fair, last year we thought that was her main target. We thought she'd be most competitive there, but by the time we got there, she'd probably been a little bit over the top, having had a couple of runs or 3 runs in Australia before she left. Whereas this year, she only had the 2 runs in Australia, didn't have the lead-up run at Haydock, and I know it doesn't work. You can't mathematise it, or quantify it. But if we had 2 runs less beforehand, we're hoping we get 2 runs later at the Curragh and potentially Longchamp.
And also, we can see her behind you. How do you think she's come out of Royal Ascot?
Really good. She was flat the first few days, and once again, it was a very hot day when she raced. I certainly felt the heat, so I'm not sure how she went. So we tipped her out, and she went out to Fittick Stud and had a grand time there. And I didn't see her from the time I dropped her off to the time I picked her up 2 weeks later, but she really turned the corner there. She put on about 20 kilos, which we wanted her to. And I said it was a fitness thing at Ascot before, but it was also just the acclimatisation thing. She looked a bit tight from the flight and the rest of it, whereas having had a chance to let down a bit, she's 20 kilos heavier now. She looks like she did last year.
And we've seen her this morning just doing a piece of work. How much more will she do between now, sort of 10 days out from Goodwood?
Yep, so we're going to aim to give her a gallop next Monday, just a similar piece of work as what she's done this morning. So in our parlance, we say 800 home 600, which is, 4 furlongs home, 2 furlongs or something. And then we'll do that on Monday, and then Asheen is going to come and give her a gallop on the July course again next Friday, which is sort of what we did 7 or 8 days out from Ascot as well, and that'll be her main piece of work.
So really there won't be much difference in terms of what you did between before Ascot and before Goodwood? It's a similar sort of training program? Not really. She's a 1,000-metre horse. You don't really need to screw them down too much. We were very light on her last year, and obviously the results spoke for themselves, but she's just going to naturally get fit with a run at Goodwood. And whilst we want to win at Goodwood and where she's a good chance of winning, as the market suggests, that's really our lead into York, because with a mare like that, it's all about winning Group 1 races. And while King George at Goodwood will be amazing and was a great day out last year, we need to win another Group 1 with her, and then we're about doing new things, and maybe Ireland and France. Let's talk about the Goodwood, King George Qatar Stakes. Unlucky in the race last year, was absolutely flying home, maybe just got a bit unbalanced going downhill. What's your sort of assumptions on what happened?
That was my takeout from it last year. We just got a little bit too far back, and that wasn't any fault of Asheen's. That was just her. We don't have tracks like that in Australia. We race on bulk flat tracks like York in your sort of instances, and jumping out of the barriers and spearing downhill for the first 400, she just couldn't get her feet right, and ended up a long way back. But once she sort of balanced up and got on the even ground, she really stormed home, but it was too little too late, obviously. But I don't think it's any stronger race this year, and We might have, well, Big Evs isn't there, we might have the stablemate in Big Mojo, sort of was the main one to beat. And I know Harry's got Time for Sandals going there, so it'll be a good little race, but obviously her form's good enough, and we just need her to be somewhere near her best.
But it seems to be with horses at Goodwood that once they've had one experience, they seem to come on a bundle. So you'd be hopeful that now she's had that experience at that sort of track that she'd hopefully go one better?
I hope you're right, yeah. Well, that's the plan, but yeah, we'll see. And also just working here, like the Cambridge Road Poly track where she's worked this morning, it's pretty flat, but working on the Watered Gallop and on the July course, they're quite undulating as well. So as I said, we don't get that in Australia, so it's all new for her, but she's getting it.
And you mentioned York. What did you make of the run last year there?
We were disappointed with the run there. Whilst Goodwood was great and we're happy, we sort of thought, well, she's been beaten, but we've still got York to come. I was really disappointed with her run at York, and that's one of the first times she's really disappointed us in her career. I thought she was cherry ripe going into it, but with the benefit of hindsight, she pulled up a bit flat, and I just think she was over the top. So I don't think it was her true form. I think that York track will really suit her this year, the nice flat 5 furlongs, and we'll hopefully get her there in better order this year. But yeah, it was disappointing, but she didn't run terribly, but I just thought she'd go better.
It's 12 months on since we were last here talking to Asfoora's groom, Chenelle. And reflections first on the latest run at Royal Ascot. Did you feel she was going to come on a fair bit for that run?
Yeah, I did. I think I always probably thought we're probably 2 weeks short. We probably just need that two extra weeks over here for her to acclimatise, and obviously it was very hot that day, and coming out of a cold winter in Ballarat to a hot day here probably just took its toll a little bit.
And we've seen her do a bit of work this morning. How do you think she's come out of Ascot?
Good. That's her first bit of work since Ascot, so she had 2 weeks in the paddock, and then she's been cantering for the last week and a bit. But yeah, I think she's came on good, and hopefully she can continue to improve.
Mm-hmm. And just looking ahead to Goodwood, obviously so close last year, it'd be very special if she could go one better this time around.
Yeah, I thought last year she had it. She was just beaten by that little bit. So hopefully she can go one better this year, and it'll be exciting this year. I think we're going to stay the Thursday night, so to have the trip away the night before and to be there that day for the whole day will be exciting, and hopefully she runs well.
And just reflecting on the journey again, it continues, but it remains, you must be, still living the dream and loving every second of it.
Yeah, I wake up each morning picturing myself, like to do this trip last year was unreal, and then, to bring the same horse back a year later and, basically do the same trip again. It's pretty special with it, mares they can train off quite quick, and she's came back and she still wants to be here, and she's showing us that she wants to be here, so hopefully it continues for a little bit longer.
And you're racking up the air miles. You've had to go back to Australia, you've come back here, and there might be more trips to Ireland and France as well, so a bit of a European tour as well maybe this summer.
Yeah, I've never been to Ireland and France, so it'd be pretty special if we could get there. Obviously that depends on her and how she's running. Yeah. Lots
to look forward to.
Yeah, it is a lot to look forward to, and it's pretty special. So I'm just grateful to be here, and for Henry to trust me again this year is really special.
Let's get York and obviously first Goodwood out the way, but you'd like to stick around for Ireland and France, and she'd obviously be crediting a bit of history from an Australian perspective if she does line up in both the Flying Five or the Abbey.
Yeah, well, all the English stuff's sort of line and length now. We did it all last year. We're sort of repeating the program, and it's a bit of a well-worn path. We just hope to get her to York in a little bit better order than last year, but once we get through that, it's almost sort of like job's done and everything else is a bonus. I suppose Ireland and France are probably a bit of a chest puffing out contest or something, a bit of an ego thing for us just to do something that no one else has before. So I think there's a stat that no Australian trained horse has ever won in France. There were a couple of horses, Balmerino and Strawberry Road back in the 80s that tried to win Arcs and that sort of stuff, but never won in France. And then surprisingly, no Australian trained horse has ever run in Ireland. We have a lot of horses go over there that transfer to Coolmore or whatever, and they're trained by Aiden obviously, but no Australian trained horse has ever run there. So if we could tick that box, that'd be great, and if we could win, it'd be better. And then obviously winning on Arc Day and another world sort of event, it would be amazing.
Watch live racing now on racingtv.com.